Hey guys, I just wanted to start with the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, or Hermes Trismegistus as he was known. Let's start with the 12 zodiac signs. So Aquarius is represented by the man. Whenever you hear the word son of man, baptism, water pitcher, fountain, stream, river, pond, lake, creek, water areas, that's Aquarius. And it's also Pisces as well too. You have to differentiate between the two. Pisces is the sign of the two fish in the water. So all the water examples from the previous slide apply. Aries is the ram, and in Aries you have March 21st, which is the spring equinox. It's a 12-hour day, 12-hour night. It's also the Passover, or in astrotheology, the passing over of the sun over the equator and back on its way to its height in the summer solstice. In Christianity, the passing over is changed, and it's called the resurrection of God's Son. So whenever you hear ram, lamb, shepherd, ram's horn, they're talking about Aries. Then Taurus is the bull. When you look at the sky and you see Taurus during the season where it's supposed to be, you know that you need to put the plow on the bull so that you can plant the seeds so that you can harvest in Virgo and Libra. So whenever you hear bull, ox, calf, or cow being a female bull, you're talking about Taurus. Gemini is the twins. It's the story of Castor and Pollux Troy, whose sister was Helen of Troy. It's the story of Achilles. So whenever you hear twins or brothers, they're talking about Gemini. Cancer is the crab. It's the sideways moving creature. So the sun rises a degree on its axis starting on December 25th. Every day it rises another degree. The days get longer, the nights get shorter. Then it stops on June 21st, and then for 3 days it walks sideways. That's the summer solstice. That's the longest day of the year, the shortest night of the year. Then on June 25th, it lowers a degree. And the crab in the ancient Egyptian times was known as the scarab. So whenever you hear crab or beetle, they're talking about Cancer. Then Leo is the king. He's the lion. He's the king of the jungle. The ruling planet of Leo is actually the sun. So whenever you hear lion, lioness, or cub, they're talking about Leo. Virgo is the woman holding the wheat stalk. So remember before when you said that you plant in Taurus, well, the virgins would cultivate the wheat in Virgo in order to make the bread for the year. So whenever you hear virgin, wheat, grain, seed, barley, corn, grainy things, they're talking about Virgo. Libra is the justice. It's the scales, it's the balance, it's the just one. The reason it's the justice is because it judges God's sun as it passes over the fall equinox and begins its descent into winter, into cold, into death. Libra is also wine season. So when you plant the grapes in Taurus, you can collect the wine here. You make the grapes, you crush the grapes, and you make the wine. It's also olive oil season. It's when you crush the olives to get the oil. So wine and oil. Scorpio is the scorpion. He's the betrayer. When a scorpion bites you, it leaves an imprint in your skin that looks like two lips. That's why the mafia has the kiss of death, and that's why Jesus was betrayed by Judas with a kiss. The sun is judged in Libra and is betrayed in Scorpio. Finally, in Sagittarius, this is where the bow and the arrow shoot the sun and inflict further punishment on the sun. This is where the sun dies. Why? Because on December 21st, the sun is at its lowest point. It cannot rise any lower. Literally can't. It's the winter solstice. It's the longest night of the year. It doesn't even cross the horizon. So the ancients used to look at the sun as low as it was and say, oh, it's dead. And then for 3 days, it walks sideways like it did in Cancer. So suddenly, it was dead for 3 days. God's sun, the light of the world, was dead for 3 days. And then it starts to make its way back on top. So whenever you hear horse, bow and arrow, spear, or horseman, you're talking about Sagittarius. Finally, Capricorn, because he's the goat, because he likes to climb the mountain. If you look at the zodiac wheel here, the bottom is Capricorn. It starts to climb up the mountain if you're crawling a degree a day alongside the zodiac wheel to its height in Cancer. Okay? So those are the 12 signs that we usually go through. And now I wanted to start getting into it. Okay, so let's start with this. Chosen I was from the sons of men. The sons of men, the son of man, as Jesus is known in Aquarius, the man sign with the water pitcher. There's going to be a lot of physics and quantum physics in this. It's an incredible book. Then having drunk deep of the cup of wisdom, the cup constellation is called Crater and is between Leo and Virgo. Over the world that broke the great waters, drowning and sinking, changing Earth's balance until only the Temple of Light was left standing on the great mountain on Undal, still rising out of the water. Some there were who were living, saved from the rush of the fountains. The great waters are the two water-based signs, Aquarius and Pisces. Remember, Aquarius is not a water sign, it's an air sign, but because there's water in it, it can be used to depict water. Rising out of the water is Pisces, and the rush of the fountains is the fountain of Aquarius. Raging they came with cudgels and spears lifted in anger, seeking to slay and utterly destroy the sons of Atlantis. The spear is the weapon of choice across all holy books. In the Bible, the two most important murders are Jesus, who's killed with the spear of destiny, and Cain and Abel. Though Cain hits Abel over the head with a rock, the name Cain translates to spear. It is used interchangeably with the bow and arrow in Sagittarius. Why? Because Sagittarius is the death. It has December 21st in it, the last day of Sagittarius, in which the death occurs. There's the great circle from eon to eon, said the great masters. It's important to realize too that this isn't like the Bible. I can't give a verse, a chapter, and a line. It doesn't work like that. This is just a straight document. I didn't label which tablet goes to which I regret, but this goes in order, so you should be able to follow it. Each zodiac sign is called an eon, or a mansion, or a house. There are many words for it. The end of times in the Bible is a mistranslation. It's actually supposed to say the end of an eon. The Mayan calendar ended in December 21st, 2012. We know what December 21st is, the day of death. But it wasn't the end of the world. It was the end of an eon. It was the end of Pisces. Seated within the flower of radiance sit seven lords from the space-times above us. They're talking about space-time thousands of years ago, before we started talking about the space-time continuum in modern-day physics now. The seven lords are the seven planets they knew about at the time. So always the seven, and that's why. The Elohim, the planets. Judging and weighing. They with their wisdom, watching the progress of light among men. The judging is judgment, which comes from Libra, the judge, the scales of justice. Free is Amenti to the Son of Man. Notice here how he says the Son, S-U-N, of man, which is how it's supposed to be accurately, as above, so below. O Master, or darkness, guide of the way from life unto life. Before thee I bring a son, S-U-N, of the morning. Touch him not ever with the power of night. Call not his flame to the darkness of night. Know him and see him, one of our brothers, lifted from darkness into light. Sun worship, that's what they're basically talking about. Man is a star bound to a body. This is many thousands of years old. We know that the iron in our blood could have only come from a dying star. We are the heavens, and the heavens are us, as above, so below. The word youngster is actually young star, as Santos has mentioned before. Consider the law, for all is law. Seek not that which is not of the law, for such exists only in the illusion of the senses. The law is Libra, in all its many forms, the scales of justice. List ye, O man, to the voice of wisdom. List to the voice of Thoth, the Atlantean. Freely I give to thee of my wisdom, gathered from the time and space of this cycle. Master of mysteries, Son, S-U-N, of the morning, living forever. Again, how old is this set of tablets that they're talking about the space-time continuum? Once again, mentioning the Sun, the master of mysteries. Long time ago, I in my childhood lay neath the stars on long buried Atlantis, dreaming of mysteries far above men. Then in my heart grew there a great longing to conquer the pathway that led to the stars. Now they're openly talking about the stars in the heavens. They're openly talking about the sun, the one true sun. Far into space, my soul traveled freely into infinity's circle of light. Strange beyond knowledge, were some of the planets, great and gigantic beyond dreams of men. Yet I found law in all its beauty. Well, the law is Libra. And it kind of sounds like a DMT mushroom trip, doesn't it? Sounds like a psychedelic experience. Very physics related too. Into infinity's circle of light. Okay? God is infinite. God is infinite. Nothing can exist outside of infinity. You apply that, you find out that we are all each a part of God. We are all each God on earth. It's just a simple correlation. There's not meant to be a worship of a separate entity that judges us. That's not what it is. We are all part of the enlightenment, and consciousness is that key. Forth then my soul sped throughout the cosmos, seeing ever new things and old, learning that man is truly spaceborn, a son of the sun, a child of the stars. So as above, so below, we are all from the universe. Know ye, O man, whatever from ye inhabit, surely it is one with the stars. Thy bodies are nothing but planets revolving around their central suns. You know, Galileo was killed for saying this 4,000 years later. You know, we're nowhere near where we need to be with quantum physics, but it's a start. In fact, the Hermetic principle, the third Hermetic principle, well, let's start this way. In quantum physics right now, we have something called string theory, okay? It posits that everything at the Planck level, which is the smallest possible level, way smaller than viruses, it's the smallest level it can get to. There are strings that vibrate, and how they vibrate and how they twist and turn gives it its properties, its taste, its color, its shape, everything. It also posits 11 dimensions, with the 12th being time. Well, time technically being the 4th dimension, but with 11 dimensions with time being the 12th. Okay. Now, the third, and we know that everything is vibration. Now, the third Hermetic principle, which goes back to this, is the principle of vibration. So if you've ever read the Quantum Hermetica, which I suggest you guys do, read the Quantum Hermetica to become a little more enlightened. You know, it's got the principle of gender. It's got the principle of vibration. Thousands of years ago, they knew that everything vibrated. Deep beneath the rocks, I buried my spaceship, waiting for the time when man might be free. Over the spaceship erected a marker in the form of a lion, yet like unto man. Thereneath the image rests my spaceship, forth to be brought when need shall arise. So there's an interdimensional spaceship. It's 3 atoms thick in our dimension. It's buried under one of the chambers of the Sphinx. The lion is Leo and the man is Aquarius. Those are opposing signs. Again, with the patterns. Opposing signs, neighboring signs. These are the patterns that you got to find. Even as exist among the men, the dark brothers, so exist the brothers of light. Well, the brothers refer to Gemini. Masters they of the sun power, ever unseen yet the guardians of men. Once again, they mention the glorious sun, the light of the world, God's only begotten son. They're already making the correlations between the sun and the Son of Man, who will come in the future. Deep in the hall sit the 7 units of consciousness from cycles above. Manifest they in this cycle as guides of man to the knowledge of all. 7 are they, mighty in power, speaking these words through me to men. Time after time stood I before them, listening to words that came not with sound. You know, think about how powerful this message is. And the 7 referred to the 7 planets above that they knew at the time. Again, the Elohim. El means God, and Ohim is just basically like putting an apostrophe S at the end of it. It's a plurality. So it's God's. That's what they're basically talking about. But think about how consciously related this kind of quote is. It's unbelievable. Know thou art one with the cosmos, a flame and a child of the light. We are all one. This is not a new concept, and it's one that's being kept from all of us. They keep us divided with race politics, financial status, etc. It's meant to keep you at your lowest chakra, at your lowest level. We need to get to the 144,000, as I mentioned in Revelation, when all your chakras are activated. Not as man am I for free, have I become of dimensions and planes. In each I take on a new body. In each I change in my form. Know I now that the formless is all there is of form. So let's talk about dimensions. Okay, and we went over this already. The principle of vibration, the 12 dimensions. They're talking about dimensions and planes 6,000 years ago. It's amazing. It's amazing how intelligent we think we are. You know, there's a saying, nothing new is under the sun, and that's true. We just keep going through cycles and relearning stuff that we knew. And we're only going to go as far as the dumbest person in society is, the person who takes these texts literally instead of metaphorically. Great is the wisdom of the 7. Mighty are they from beyond. Manifest they through their power filled by the force and beyond. The 7 are the planets. Far have I been on my journey through space-time, even to the end of the space of this cycle. Space-time is not a new concept. These books are available to read. I have no idea why no one goes back, but there's a phrase called chronological ethnocentrism, which is in social sciences, which basically means that because we're the furthest along in time, well, that we know of, the ancients had less wisdom and knowledge. We think about things like the Dark Ages, but that's just not true. They may not have glasses and contacts in the past, but ancient Romans used to look at the gladiators through crystal prisms that reflected light so that they could see. They figured things out. You know, it's just like every civilization. We figure things out as time goes on. Seek ye, O man, to find the great pathway that leads to the eternal life as a sun. Once again, the sun. Space is filled with concealed ones, for space is divided by time. Seek ye the key to the time space, and ye shall unlock the gate. Know ye that throughout the time space consciousness surely exists. Though from our knowledge it is hidden, yet still it forever exists. There's constant mention of space-time throughout the tablets. Throughout the time-space consciousness surely exists. The universe is conscious. We're only starting to learn this again. And some of us know this inherently at a young age. And then it's beaten out of you. It's the way we do things in this modern day and age is gross. It's disgusting. But man is a light-born spirit, but without knowing, he can never be free. We need to remember who we are, where we came from, and when we were going. Ye are a son of the great light. Remember, and ye shall be free. We are all the sons of God. God is infinite. Nothing can exist outside of infinity. We are all one. We are all part of God, subjectively experiencing itself through the illusion of separation of individuals living in space-time. Used I the drum of the serpent, cried to the Lord of the signs in their houses. There are 2 serpents in the heavens. There's Hydra, who is the sea serpent, and Ophiuchus, who is the serpent bearer. Much like the eagle is both an evolved form of Scorpio and also Aquila. So you got to figure out which one it is. Hear ye enlist ye, O children of Chem. Chem is ancient Egypt. It's where we get the words alchemy, chemeticism, chemetic, chemistry. Modern day religion called chemeticism traces back to the ancient wisdom of Egypt. Know ye that ye as a whole in this consciousness are only a cell in the process of growth. Basically, we are everything and we are nothing at once. Know ye, O man, that all of the future is an open book for him who can read. So Edgar Cayce talks about this in his works. It's about accessing the Akashic records. The Akashic records are an interdimensional book of sorts that have all the thoughts, word, action, and intention from everyone throughout history and all that ever will be, since time is merely an illusion. Great is the struggle between light and darkness, age old and yet every new. Yet know in a time far in the universe, light shall be all and darkness shall fall. The Bible talks about the dark versus the light, Satan versus God. In the end, light and goodness will win. Knowledge and wisdom shall be man's in the great age, for he shall approach the eternal flame, the soul of all wisdom, the place of the beginning, that is yet one with the end of all things. In a time that is yet unborn, all shall be one, and one shall be all. Man, a perfect flame of this cosmos, shall move forward to a place in the stars. I shall move ever from out of the space-time into another beyond the stars. I didn't translate this because I didn't think I needed translation. You have to feel this. You have to just take it in. You have to understand it. You have to internalize it. The time will come when ye too shall be deathless, living from age to age, a light among men. This is talking about raising your vibration to a different dimension. This is talking about living in a different dimension, raising our collective consciousness. Death only happens in this dimension because we have the illusion of space-time. Man in the future will deny the mysteries, but always the way the seeker will find. That's what you got to do, guys. You got to seek. You got to look for this. No one's going to hand it to you. You got to find this. And I think Schopenhauer said, that the truth, first it is ridiculed, then it is attacked, then it is accepted as fact. And I butchered that. It's something along those lines. There in the temple, I drank of the wisdom, poured as a fountain of light. The fountain is Aquarius, the man with the water pitcher, and the light is the lights that Aquarius give off, the stars that make up Aquarius. Now go ye forth and summon thy brothers, so that I may impart the wisdom to the light path when my presence is gone. Come to the chamber beneath my temple, eat not food until 3 days are past. You got to wonder why there's always 3 days. It's always 3 days. Jesus is dead for 3 days. Jonah's in the mouth of, they call it the Dag Gadol, or the big, it's not a whale, it's a big fish or a giant fish for 3 days. In the Hebrew, in the Jewish Midrash, Abraham actually sacrifices Isaac and he remains dead for 3 days before God resurrects him. It's always 3 days. There's constant 3 days. And that's why. It's because the sun walks sideways for 3 days. It does that twice, in Cancer and in Capricorn. Mention of magnetism. So Walter Russell talks about everything, and I mean everything being electromagnetic. The electric radiates and magnetism receives. The sun is electric, the male energy, and the moon radiates, the female energy. The female cycle is a 28-day cycle, 13 months, just like the moon cycle. The moon controls the tide of the ocean, and we are 70 to 95% water. It's stupid to think that the moon doesn't affect us. Also, because of the sun is male and electric, it's why the male orgasm feels like a jolt of electricity going through your body. Well, the female orgasm feels like a wave that they can ride over and over again. We are all tethered to these heavenly bodies, whether we like it or not. And so that's the Enuma Elish. That's the Epic of Gilgamesh. No, I'm sorry. That is the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. I'm sorry, guys. Next is the Enuma Elish. And I just wanted to remind you guys that you really should look into this a little bit more. Now, I also have a book series that talks about these topics, okay, or mentions them too. It teaches them in a creative way. The way that I decode ancient holy texts, I do the same thing with this in my book series, which is Into the Rabbit Hole. This is the first book, Beneath the Veil. My email is intotherabbitholeseries@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from some of you guys. Just tell me what you think. My point, once again, is not that these ancient people told literal stories and we are now smart enough to take them symbolically, but that they told them symbolically and we're not dumb enough to take them literally. And that's what it is. That's what it is. So I will see you guys shortly. Thank you.